Alright, welcome to day 3 of Oil Painting 101 in 5 minutes a day. We're on step 3 today, so we're going to go ahead and put a light ground, it's called, which is like a light layer of paint in the background, and to kind of color the background, to kind of give us a sense of our different values, our darks and lights, and we do this over the sketch. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my oil paint brush basket. So these are only brushes I use for oil painting. And I want to find a brush that is a little bit wider. This would be a little bit too wide. Kind of check things out here. So I usually have, I mean, this could work. It would really get the job done fast. It's a little bit hard to use with my paint. So I might pick something a little bit smaller here. Alright, I'll go ahead and use this. This is a brush that kind of lost its cohesion, so I can use it fine for just go ahead and sketching in for things. Alright, now I was taught to kind of do things in more of a Renaissance style, so I'm going to go ahead and do a ground that's going to be some raw sienna. It's going to be some raw umber, a little bit of a Prussian blue, which is like a marine blue. So that's why a lot of the oil paints you get are kind of those earthy colors, because it's all about layering the colors. We go from dark to light, so you can have those earthy tones, those kind of muted tones underneath where you're painting, and add some more things. So another tool that I have is a palette knife, and these are really useful for reaching into your paint. As you can see, I've been using the paint just like if I was being a good toothpaste tube user, and I'm squeezing from the bottom and rolling up. So this paint I've had since college, and I'm almost done with it. Alright, so I'm just kind of squeezing out a little bit, and I take my palette knife and actually dig in and grab a little bit of that, and I put it down here. So I don't need very much because I'm going to make a really light wash. Alright, I can get the extra off, and that's a lot less messy than doing it with a brush. I check and see if I don't have any wet paint on the threads, and then I can screw on the cap. If you do that, your paints will last a lot longer. You don't want the paint cap to dry on the tube too. That can be really hard to get things going. Okay, so in my painting, this is kind of a hard painting because I have to use two different images. So I have my raw umber, and I'm going to get my Prussian blue. Alright, so my Prussian blue right here, and same thing, I'm squeezing from the bottom. How I arrange my palette is that I have my dark browns, purples, blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, and then going to white on this side. So you can see my white and my darks are opposite of each other. And if you set your palette up in the same time every way, you can kind of intuitively mix your paint a lot better. So I'm going to take some Prussian blue. This is a really strong pigment. I don't need very much for it to cover. And I can kind of see in my photo here that a lot of the shadows are this Prussian blue color, so that's going to work out great. I'm going to set just a lot of those shadows in at first. I also have kind of a greenish in the background, so it's okay for right now. I'm just going to put the shadows of the island. I'll make that a lighter blue. The shadow's a little bit darker blue. Okay, so the other thing I need is some kind of medium to make things, to thin things out. You can use turpentine. I think I have a little bit left, so I'm probably going to use a turpentine. It is toxic. You want to have your windows open. It's not like you're going to keel over and die, but it's just not good to breathe day after day. I have this Galcid light, which has just a little bit of petroleum distillate in it, so but not nearly as much as the turpentine. So I either use this, which dries in about 12 hours or so, or I use turpentine, which dries really quickly too. So that's it. A lot of people are intimidated by oil paint because, it's seems like it takes a really long time to dry. So the turpentine, if it was the other medium, I would mix it and then paint it. With the turpentine, I'm just going to dip my brush in the turpentine, grab some of my umber, and kind of look at some of these lines I have and sketching. So this is the part where it's really hard to kind of just kind of going around some of my objects. Some people love those drips. You'll see that in modern painting a lot. Alright. I tend to be really controlled with my painting, so I'm trying to learn how to loosen up a little bit more. It's a journey, let me tell you. Okay. Yeah, I really like this umber for this beach line back here. I'll put a little bit. Figure out this horizon line. Looks like the coast is going all the way down there. I see some cliffs in the background, so I can add some for these cliffs. Alright. And coming in. Now obviously the dogs themselves are going to be colored. And I'm going to actually use some of this raw sepia. Sepia is more of a rosy brown. Okay, so since this is just going to be 5 minutes, I'm not going to do the whole thing. But the idea is that you put a thin layer of paint in the background. It doesn't have to be very exact. We're just trying to get the general impressions of the objects and the general lights and darks. And so, right, you can look at my bio for my link, Amanda Faith Art, is where I have my landscape and wildlife paintings. You can also sign up for a newsletter where I do different tips and tricks and art news. I also have another site that's art education. That's my gallery site, but if you sign up to the newsletter, you can get information on both. All right, thanks so much.